Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of my brand new series, Battle Spot Trouble. I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and it's really to start, getting ourselves ready for VGC 18 and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which, are coming out very, very shortly. So it's been a fun time. I definitely want to continue doing it up until, teams are ready for VGC 18 and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and I'm really just trying to get back into the swing of things because once the new games come out and once VGC 18 rolls around, I want to really be able to start pumping out content more consistently, especially because next semester in general is just going to be a lot more laid back, as I've mentioned. But thank you to everyone so far who have been watching these videos. They've been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them. If you do enjoy them and want to see more, please show support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And I think today will probably be our last episode with this Mega Gardevoir team that we've been using for, since the beginning of the series. Of course, this team was created by a European player named Conan Wild. You can check out his Twitter in the description below, as well as a paste of the team and the QR code. Really fun team to use, and overall, I'm learning a lot. I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes throughout the time playing with the team, but that's okay. I'm here to learn, and I think it's good to get acclimated with a lot of these Pokemon just so, I'll be a little bit more prepared once 18 rolls around. But we're going to get into this one. Before we get started, I just want to quickly say I did some collabs with PokeAim MD, also known as Joey, who is one of my favorite people and YouTubers around, so go check that out. We did some VGC stuff, and he also taught me how to play single Ubers, which was kind of fun. So check both of the collabs out in the description below. So our opponent today is running a rain team. You got Politoed, Ludicolo, Mawile, Coco, Tornadus, and Oranguru. So, kind of reminiscent of the old rain teams, like Poly, Ludi, Mawile. Those were all, somewhat common. I think, the Tornadus and the Oranguru is pretty cool, because then you have the Tailwind and the Trick Room option, and then Coco to close it out. Just a really strong Pokemon offensively. So, let me see how to approach this. A rain in general is very scary. I actually have not faced against any rain at all up until this point, so that's going to be interesting. I do like leading Zapdos here, I think, because I do pressure with Tailwind. And I kind of want to go Tapu Fini, just because if my opponent goes with Wind, then Fini can maybe get a Calm Mind up immediately. I do like Gardevoir here a lot. I'm tempted to bring Incineroar specifically for the Oranguru, but in retrospect, that doesn't really make too much sense. I think I'm going to bring Aegislash here instead. So, kind of different from what I normally go with. I don't bring Fini too often with this team, but I'm going to try it out for this matchup. And this is pretty scary in general. I have some sense of what to anticipate, but because my opponent has, multiple ways to play with that team, it's really dependent on which, core my opponent goes with. Whether you go for, the fast rain option with Politoed, Ludi, Coco, or whether you go for, the more Trick Room-y option with the Oranguru and the Mega Mawile. So, we're going to get into this one, but I'm excited to see how this plays out just because I haven't played Rain, I think, at all so far with this team. People were asking me how, do you deal with the Rain matchup? I don't really know, so we'll learn in this game. So we're going to go with Zapdos and the Fini. It's going to be Mawile and Oranguru. Okay, this is kind of scary, and it is really going to come down to this first turn, and I think what item the Oranguru has. So, Mawile is obviously, the Trick Room sweeper, right? So you want to, the safest place to just protect Trick Room here. But my opponent could gamble and say, okay, you're going to double up into Oranguru, and my opponent might just attack with Mawile. So immediately I have to make a call. Trick Room going up, if I were to eliminate Mawile, then Trick Room going up actually isn't really a problem for me. So, the question is, do I want to take the risk of doubling up into Mawile into an obvious protect? Or would I rather just double up into Oranguru to, definitely try to deny Trick Room? The safer play, I think, is just the Z move and Moonblast Oranguru, but I'm really worried that that won't even knock out, but I think I'm going to go for that. This is, kind of an obvious play on my end, but I really don't think I can risk Mawile protecting and Oranguru just setting up Trick Room. Worst case here, Oranguru protects to take some chip damage through the Electric Z move. Mawile gets to play Rough off. Mawile does choose the Mega Evolve, and typically, you're not going to Mega Evolve because you want to conserve Intimidate, unless you're attacking. So this indicates to me it is attacking, so that's kind of frustrating because I could have doubled up onto the Mawile, like I mentioned. So looks like my opponent is attacking, but no Protects coming out at all. So if the Gigavolt Havoc and the Moonblast knock out Oranguru, I'll be okay with this trade, but what I was fearing going into this turn was Mawile not protecting and Trick Room going up. And that could definitely be the case if this Oranguru has a Berry instead of, a Mental Rope. So, let's see. Gonna get the Gigavolt Havoc off. Oh, that's not gonna be enough, I don't think. Oh. Wow, that's so tanky. That's crazy. Yep, Trick Room goes up, and that is basically the worst case scenario. So So maybe I should have gambled and tried to knock out Mawile. This is like the exact situation that I was kind of fearing, but there's not much I think I really could have... I mean, the other play I could have done was just attacking Mawile aggressively, but like that just goes so poorly if Mawile protects, which is like the safer play on my opponent's end. So kind of risky to attack there with the Mawile, but I didn't play risky enough on my end. I don't really regret my play, but especially not knowing how like defensive the Oranguru was. But that is super impressive bulk. I thought surely the Z move plus Moonblast would knock it out. So it's not the end of the world for me, but I am just going to double protect this turn, and I'm going to have to play well by switching into Aegislash on the right slot next turn. Because presumably my opponent is going to, you know, go for something like just a play rough and then the Instruct as well. So, yeah, not the greatest of turn ones there for me, unfortunately. And, yeah, like, once again, it's just considering risk versus reward, right? Because I don't know the roles here, I'm, like, willing to take the risk of just trying to double up on a Oranguru since I think it's likely it doesn't protect. Whereas if Mawile protects and I double up into it, I'm just in a really bad spot. But we actually see the play rough go onto the Lufini slot and the Instruct, so that's kind of interesting. And it makes me think what my opponent's going to do next turn, right? Do you double Instruct into Lufini? And I think it's... it makes sense that my opponent is prioritizing knocking out the Fini here, just because Fini, if you look at what my opponent has in the back, is rather good, especially if it gets a Calm Mind up. So, now I have to call this correctly. Do I think my opponent is going to, play rough the Zapdos and then Instruct it, or do I think it's going to go into the Fini slot? Because if I call it correctly, then whatever Pokemon, my opponent doesn't target, then I could potentially just get an attack off with that slot. That's going to be really important, so... I'm inclined to think my opponent's just going to play rough into Lufini slot again. So I think I'm going to just switch into Aegislash here. Or sorry, I meant to Heat Wave here. And switch out into the Aegislash. And like worst case, if it goes into a Zapdos slot, that's fine. I lose Zapdos. At least Fini sticks around. I get another turn of double protecting. The only downside is I don't have much damage output consistently against the... And we do see Iron Head. Okay, cool. So choosing an Iron Head there, which is interesting. Oh, foul play. Does that knock me out? No, it doesn't. But I missed the Oranguru, which kind of is unfortunate. Interesting for my opponent to just reveal foul play there, though. Okay. I mean, that's a really good turn for me now, because I get to just double protect. Yeah, and there's no reason for me not to do this. So by double protecting, I take away another turn of Trick Room, effectively. So foul play was interesting, instead of my opponent opting to go for the Instruct combination. But, I'm still not necessarily in the best of positions. Ideally, I actually want to get a Tailwind up if possible, so then I can sweep through what my opponent has in the back, because the Mega Gardevoir kind of just sweeps whatever my opponent has in the back. Especially if it's that Rain combination, which I'm slightly worried about. So, last turn ended up being pretty good for me, because I got a free attack off. Connecting Heat Wave onto Oranguru would have been nice, but at least, I was going to say at least it's not that much of an offensive threat, but it actually kind of is, because it has foul play, which does a lot to Aegislash. However, I don't think my opponent can knock me out, so I might still be able to get another attack off this next turn, which is good. And ideally, I want to be in a position where... Oh, Mawile switches out, actually. That's interesting. Into Politoed. Okay. I'm okay with this. So it is good to confirm that my opponent does have the Politoed in the back, though. Yeah, and then so I did double protect this turn just because it felt like the most optimal and the safest play. But what this means is now I can bring Fini back in, and Fini actually takes advantage of the fact that Rain is up as well, which is quite nice. It's just a question of what my opponent's last Pokemon is. The Taunt actually comes out into Aegislash, which is kind of cool, but that's fine. And so, okay, we've seen Taunt, Trick Room, and Foul Play, and Instruct. So we know Oranguru's full moveset, okay, which is good. So I think my opponent probably doubles up into something here. I'm not really sure I need Aegislash, honestly, at this point in the game. I think Zapdos is honestly more important. So I'm going to withdraw Zapdos out into Lufini, and I'm just going to go for a Shadow Ball. I don't expect to get it off against a Politoed. If you're my opponent, you might just Scald and Fall Play into a Politoed to guarantee the knockout, but I don't want to risk losing Zapdos because, like I mentioned, I would like to get a Tailwind up, because that sets up the endgame against whatever my opponent has as his or her fourth Pokemon. So we do see the Foul Play come out. It does target down the Aegislash. Actually doesn't do nearly as much as I thought it would. And I'm actually faster, so I actually get the Shadow Ball off against Politoed. So I'm okay with that. I went into this turn fully expecting to just sack the Aegislash, and instead I get an attack off, which is pretty nice. That actually does a ton of damage to Politoed, and gets the Spadef drop as well, which is pretty nice. So I would expect to eat a Scald Up into the Aegislash slot, but this might have targeted the Zapdos slot. Yes, it did. Wow, that's even better for me. So that's good. Although, honestly, I wouldn't have minded Aegislash, or sorry, I wouldn't have minded if it went down, if my Aegislash went down, because then I get the free switch into Zapdos, which ensures that Tailwind goes up. Now I might not be able to get Tailwind up, which is kind of problematic, but it's not the end of the world for me. Because of the special defense drop, I think, honestly, just safely Moonblast Politoed. I guess I'm just worried that Moonblast won't knock out even at -1 special defense. I feel like it should, though. Yeah, I'm fairly confident it will. So I'm going to Moonblast Politoed and go for a Flash Cannon here onto the Oranguru. So, yeah, pretty good positioning now. Politoed actually switches out, that's fine, because I just get a... And it's Ludicolo, okay. So that's actually pretty good to see, because one, I confirm it's the last one, two, the rain turns are expiring, but more importantly, I just knock out the Oranguru, or at least I should. Although it could be faster and could just get a foul play off here. And I get a special defense drop on Ludicolo too, or special attack drop, which is nice. Okay, so yeah, this works out perfectly. So the special defense drop last turn could have been pretty important because it allowed me to make that Moonblast play safely. Otherwise, I would have just Moonblasted a Oranguru and probably gone for a Shadow Ball into the Politoed slot. But this is still okay for me. The special attack drop is actually quite nice for me because now it means Giga Drain just does significantly less damage to Tapu Fini. Rain is also slowly expiring, and if I can knock out the Mawile, then Gardevoir can really just close out this game. In addition, if I just get a little bit of chip damage on the Mawile, it's already taken over 50%, then a Hyper Voice should be able to finish it off. So, I'm not in, like, the best of positions, mainly because this Ludicolo is in a position to potentially sweep, which is why, you know, I was actually kind of hoping Aegislash would go down, so I'd get the free switch into Zapdos to set up Tailwind, but it's also... You know, given that the game started with my opponent getting up Trick Room, like, I'm not going to complain. It could be a lot worse, that's for sure. So Politoed comes back in. Now, I do have Calm Mind. I'm not sure, like, how much a Giga Drain would do to me right now. And that looks like AV Ludicolo, which, like, shouldn't be too surprising. I do want to count Brain correctly, though. There are only 2 turns almost expired. So, I mean, what I could do this turn is sack Aegislash. I could Calm Mind with Fini. I actually kind of like Calm Minding with Fini here, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to Calm Mind with Fini, and I'm just going to sack Aegislash. And I'll go for a last-ditch Shadow Ball. Because then what I get, basically what happens is Mega Gardevoir comes in for free, and it gets to potentially sweep. Yeah, so Giga Drain there does a decent amount, but another one shouldn't knock me out, especially, and it should proc my Berry, actually, if anything. So I get a Calm Mind up, which is nice, not only for the special attack increase, but obviously the special defense increase as well right now. So I'm expecting Aegislash to go down. Maybe my opponent doesn't target that slot, but it's a relatively free Scald, especially since I'm taunted. And yep, Scald does come out and knock out the Aegislash. So it's like kind of scary, obviously, but now this is perfect for me because I get what I want to, which is getting Mega Gardevoir in this position. So at +1, 2, that is rather nice. +1 special defense with Fini. This is going to be a close finish, honestly. The other question I have is what what the last move on Mawile is. Like, typically, you run... I actually traced Swift Swim. So, I could utilize that to my advantage, maybe. That doesn't really matter, though, I think. Because I'm not knocking Ludicolo out anyway. I could just double protect here. But the way what speed mechanics work, like, Politoed switches out in a Mawile and comes back in, then my opponent gets that, yeah, as an advantage. So I think I'm just going to actually Moonblast the Politoed and Mega Evolve and Psychic the Ludicolo. Yeah. Maybe I should have Psychic Politoed instead. It's just my opponent's in an awkward position right now because I got the fortunate special attack drop on Ludicolo where, like, you kind of want to switch out because you're not doing as much damage, but then you also kind of want to switch out Politoed because Rain is expiring. So RNG a little bit kinder to me today than yesterday's episode, but I'll take that. And we're in an okay position right now, but it's still anyone's game, especially if, like, Giga Drain gets, like, a super high roll and somehow knocks us out or crits us. I don't think a high roll would knock us out. I think my opponent would need a crit on the Fini right now. Ludicolo might have Hydro Pump, but a Hydro Pump at -1 should not knock out Gardevoir. Both of my opponent's Pokemon are staying in, which is fine by me. I'll gladly take that. I think I maybe could have double protected here, but I didn't want to risk double protecting and giving some momentum towards my opponent to get a potential switch out. Ludicolo just Scalds too, so that's perfect. Let's see how much that does. It does a decent amount, but it doesn't burn me, and that's the more important thing. So I do get the Psychic off against the Ludicolo. You would think that's got to be Assault Vest, given how well it's taking these special attacks. So I more or less can guess that it is a AV. Oh, wow, I didn't knock out Politoed. And it's buried. Mago Berry. Okay. That is kind of annoying. But I'm just called Fini, okay. And Brain expires. So that might have been a slight misplay. Maybe I should have Psychic into Politoed, because I think Psychic from Gardevoir still does more. I'm actually not entirely sure about that, but that's fine, honestly. So I'm just going to Hyper Voice here, Feeny having its berry is still good. Ludicolo might just Giga Drain, but that's fine. Politoed's not really the offensive threat. Neither is Ludicolo, really, I guess, because it's at -1 special defense. But it does have the Assault Vest, which is kind of annoying, so I think I'm still going to prioritize knocking that out. And since I know it has AV, I think I'm just going to Hyper Voice and Moonblast here to pick up the knockout onto that slot. So, yeah, that might have, I don't know, I thought Moonblast would have knocked out Politoed. That also means, like, my opponent could have stayed in with Politoed, potentially, because Moonblast came close, and I thought it would knock out, but it wouldn't. So earlier when my opponent switched out Politoed, you know, maybe he or she could have just stayed in. But I'm still in a pretty good position. This has been kind of a weird game, because I don't think I played perfectly. Like, the turn 1 was frustrating for me, because I was so close to just trying to double up on Mawile. If I get the double up onto Mawile, then I'm in a pretty good position. Politoed actually switches out, which is perfectly fine with me. That's why I wanted to prioritize knocking out Ludicolo too, because I know it can get the speed advantage up again, should Politoed be able to cycle back in. So, Hyper Voice here actually still does a ton outright to both Pokemon, and I'm actually faster because Rain has expired. So, because I doubled up, Ludicolo will go down, and that puts me in an even better position now. So, yeah. My opponent basically just switching out the Politoed to get the Rain back up, but Rain doesn't really help my opponent as much at this point. So, because Mega Mawile is weakened as well, you know, I feel pretty good about my chances. But I do have to remember, you know, you do have to remember Mawile does get access to Sucker Punch, so that could be influential. But the thing is, right now Feeny's in a really prime position, especially because it still does have its berry. I don't think a Sucker Punch should knock me out. So here I'm just going to Moonblast into the Mawile, and I think I'll just Psychic the Politoed. Yeah. Right now I don't see my opponent being able to beat this Feeny. I think it needs to crit Sucker Punch basically. Because, and if Politoed targets the Feeny slot, then I'll just activate my berry. I do have to, I think like Mawile Sucker Punch might be able to knock out Gardevoir from this range, depending on how, you know, whether it's like an Admin or Brave max attack. I don't remember exactly how bulky this Gardevoir is, but Gardevoir typically is, you know, rather just, not the most like, stable in terms of defenses for Mega Evolutions. But, especially on the defensive spectrum, I should specify. But, regardless, like, you know, there's not much. Politoed actually Sucker Punches. Or, sorry, Helping Hands. Helping Hands Sucker Punch maybe knocks me out, actually. It does have Sucker Punch. But it targets Gardevoir. Okay. Yeah, that's fine by me, then. I think if you're my opponent, you should try to target down Feeny, because I don't see how my opponent wins against the Feeny at this point. +1 Moonblast should knock out Mawile from that range. Yeah. So that was actually kind of scary. I think if you target down Feeny, I don't know whether that would knock out or not, but honestly might. And had that gotten the knockout, Psychic probably wouldn't knock out Politoed. Then it would really come to some mind games the next turn. So my opponent actually had a really good shot at winning this one still, if the Sucker Punch went into Feeny. But now I just won the game. So maybe my opponent was expecting me to protect with Feeny, or just trying to knock out Gardevoir due to a fear, or hoping that my Feeny would target the Politoed. Like, one play I considered was Moonblast and Psychicking into a Mawile, but the downside there is if I do that, the Politoed could potentially get a free attack off against either Feeny or Zapdos. And what I was fearing was it getting like a little bit of chip damage more so that a Sucker Punch would knock out Feeny. But now Thunderbolt would just wrap up this game. So, kind of a long, drawn-out first game. Definitely one that was like not the best played on my end, but I end up winning anyway because I feel like I had a decent matchup. I think this was a really scary game though because I just stalled out Trick Room, and like the biggest thing like allowed me to get back in this was my opponent going for the Ironhead foul play turn that turn. And that's why Trick Room can be kind of hard to use sometimes as a strategy, because if your opponent makes a good switch, or if you over predict, or you just don't predict, you don't call the prediction correctly, because sometimes like, you know, it feels like a 50-50 depending on who's switching in, or whether you switch in or switch out. Or not a 50-50, but you're just in a position where it's like, if you call it correctly, then you're in a really good position. If not, then it sets you back a lot. Okay, our next opponent of the day has a very friendly username, and we are going up against the exact same team from yesterday. I don't know if... Actually, no, the team yesterday had Aegislash, right? So this is Chalk, Kangcrest, Landorus, Amoonguss, Heatran, and the Tapu Fini. So, yesterday's episode, this is kind of a fun throwback to yesterday's episode, so hopefully things go a little bit better today, because that was very frustrating. But how did I approach that one? I think my opponent led Kangamoongus, and I switched in Feeny. And I had Aegislash and Zapdos, I believe, if I remember correctly. Looking at it again, I mean, Incineroar, not the best Pokemon to bring in this matchup. Oh, I didn't bring Zapdos. That was the mistake, because I couldn't get up Tailwind last time around. Tailwind would have been nice. Maybe I want to bring Zapdos this time. I don't know. It just doesn't do too much damage. I think it was Landorus last time. Yeah, Landorus. plus, like, Aegislash, I want to say. Does that make sense here? I feel like it does. Landorus Cress also seems to work out decently, though. I'm actually going to go Landorus Cress with Feeny and Aegislash. Yeah. So the goal of this game is to just not get flinched, because that's what happened yesterday. But otherwise, the matchup here is pretty interesting. Like, Amoonguss, the first question, it's always actually interesting to me, for me to see, like, Amoonguss is on Feeny teams, because it's like, once you set up the Feeny, or Misty Terrain comes out, Amoonguss is relatively useless. I mean, obviously you can still Rage Powder, but you're not able to Spore, which is its biggest asset. So let's see. We see King Cress here. Okay, that's fine with me. So I get the initial Intimidate off, which is already good. And I do get a potential free switch in just into Aegislash, which is also rather good. So I think that's actually probably what I'm going to do. The safest play is to just protect Cresselia and switch Landorus out into Aegislash. That blows any fake out Ice Beam combinations. Kangaskhan, you know, could opt to just try to set up with a Power Up Punch immediately. So my opponent could make a really good play actually if he has Power Up Punch and go for the Power Up Punch onto himself. So maybe I want to risk attacking with Gardevoir just to prevent that, but that seems like a really high risk play. Yeah, I'm just going to switch into Aegislash. And do I want to attack with Cresselia? I'm tempted to, honestly. I am tempted to. Protecting is probably better. If my opponent actually Power Up Punches himself, all the credit to him, because that would be very impressive. And even if that does happen, it's not the end of the world, but it suddenly means that Gardevoir is in threat of getting knocked out the following turn, which is obviously not good. So, a lot of pressure on this first turn immediately. Like, I could have stayed in and U-turn or superpowered, but if I get faked out and Ice Beamed into Landorus, that's really bad. I think in retrospect, actually, I should have attacked with Gardevoir. I just don't want to risk getting crit, but, like, I would risk getting crit next turn anyway. So, yeah, in retrospect, I think just going for a Hyper Voice would have been better. But, we'll see. If the pup goes on a Cresselia right now, I'm going to applaud, if there is pup. Because, of course, you can use old Kangaskhan's from older games. So, just get access to Power Up Punch. I'm protecting. No, okay, nice. That was scary for a moment. No fake out coming out either. Okay, so that's good. As long as I don't get frozen here. Okay, I was about to say, like, why do I jinx myself? Because I was totally expecting to get frozen. But that ends up working out nicely. I'm not really worried about Kangaskhan at all, especially with Life Orb Aegislash, so I think I'm just going to double up on the Kang this turn with a Flash Cannon. I'm just going to check who my opponent has in the back. The only thing I can switch into this is a Heatran, but even so, Psychic plus Flash Cannon probably does around 30, 35, 40%. And the chip damage is nice because I've got the Tapu Fini in the back. If I knock out Kangaskhan, I'm basically going to keep playing around Cresselia this match, because Cresselia really doesn't do anything against my team. The worst case is it sets up Trick Room, but even under Trick Room, like, my opponent can't really sweep me because you don't really have Trick Room sweepers. So, gonna try to choke out my opponent basically here. So turn 1 works out nicely. You know, I could have U-turn once again or superpowered with my Choice Band Landorus, but I don't want to just lose Landorus immediately because the Intimidate will be very nice if my opponent does have Landorus in the back. Although, as we saw yesterday, sometimes that Intimidate doesn't even matter, but I do want my revenge against Chalk. So Kangaskhan actually switches out, which is an impressive play. But it's Amoonguss coming in, so that works out really nicely for me because I did Psychic that slot. Hidden Power. Wow, is that fire? It's gotta be, right? Fire or ground? I can't really tell, but that's fine. That is kind of annoying, actually. And Amoonguss actually... Wow, it took Psychic. I didn't Mega Evolve! Oh, whoopsies. You know, I actually don't mind that too much because I don't give my opponent a free switch in. So it's actually, like, not the end of the world. I don't want to just King Shield Protect. Do I think a Mega Evolution Hyper Voice will knock out Amoonguss? That's the other question. I also kind of want to switch in Feeny, so then I can start Calm Minding. I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to switch in Feeny. I can't believe I didn't Mega Evolve. Mega Evolve and Protect this turn. And the reason why I don't want to get a knockout immediately is I want to be in a position where Feeny gets to get a free Calm Mind up against Amoonguss and Cresselia. Hidden Power is interesting because that might reveal that this Cresselia is more offensive. We saw Ice Beam, we saw Hidden Power, it probably carries Psychic, and then maybe Trick Room. But Hidden Power Cresselia, that was one of my favorite sets back during 2012 and 2013. I used, Choice Specs Cresselia to win Nationals in 2012, and then I had, like, Expert Belt Cresselia afterwards for a bunch of teams in 2013. And offensive Cresselia is just really fun. It's a little bit weaker now because Hidden Power's power is reduced, just in downward, the base power is reduced, but overall it's a really fun set to use. So I'm gonna switch Aegislash out right now because I do know it carries hidden power. That's actually, yeah, like I mentioned, it is kind of annoying, but it's not the end of the world. I can't believe I forgot to Mega Evolve. I was like, how did is that like AV Amoonguss? It took Psychic so well. But I know Feeny switching in here is safe because like my opponent might try to Spore. But basically Amoonguss is really useless, and I actually get to leverage that to my advantage. So I'm gonna protect Gardevoir here because I don't want to get a knockout, and I want to just and it's good my opponent stays in with both, and we just see HP fire again. Or actually, we'll see whether it's fire or ground here. So, looks like it's actually ground. Interesting. And the Spore goes into Gardevoir. Okay. Fine by me. Free opportunity now to just Calm Mind. And I actually don't even have to worry. Like, even if Hyper Voice doesn't knock out Amoonguss, that's fine, because it's not really going to do much in return. I guess it could Sludge Bomb, but I think I actually will Hyper Voice here, because I want to potentially knock out both of my opponent's Pokemon at the same time. So no switch outs here, so I do get the Hyper Voice off. I think Amoonguss might hang on here. It does, yeah. So this was actually intentional, because I get the Calm Mind off, and now I can Hyper Voice and Moonblast next turn. Although I'm actually not sure that gets the knockout. It probably doesn't. So maybe I should have just tried to knock out Amoonguss, but it was, at most, you know, it gets a Sludge Bomb. Wait, okay, that's Z-move Cresselia. I thought that was Z-move Amoonguss for a second, and I was like, wait, that makes no sense. Cresselia is faster. Okay, I was wondering, like, Hyper Voice actually did a pretty decent amount. So, Shattered Psyche Cresselia. That is fascinating. Huh. So, that does go into Feeny. That's fine. Ideally, Amoonguss targets that slot too and procs my Berry, but I don't even think it'll activate my Berry from here. It is Sludge Bomb too. It does target down Gardevoir. It actually does a ton. I guess that's not, like, an insane amount, but still some damage. I kind of want to just Calm Mind Protect this turn. Yeah, I don't see a downside to that. Like, might as well get free Calm Minds up while I can, right? And I do have Landorus in the back for my opponent's physical attackers. In the potential Landorus on the Kangaskhan. This has been kind of a weird game. I don't think I've been playing, like, super well, but it's also, like, not the worst. But Z-move Cresselia is interesting. So it is obviously, like, somewhat offensive of a Cresselia if you're running Psychic, Z-move, Ice Beam, and Hidden Power. But we saw how little that did. Like, Feeny took it over with over 50% after the Calm Mind. So I'll take that damage, because it's better to know that Cresselia has a Z-move and that it's used it, as opposed to playing a guessing game, like, oh, does the Landorus in the back have it, because that's always something that's scary. And I think, like, Z-moves just make Landorus even, like, that much more viable, which makes it so much more scary to play against. Especially when you're using Aegislash. And so fortunately for me, my opponent's just staying in with his Pokemon, which is good. I really want Feeny's Berry to get procced here, so ideally my opponent, like, I don't know, Psychic Sludge Bombs the Feeny. Part of me is, like, considering Psychicking myself to just make sure I get the Berry up. But we'll see. It's actually Ice Beam coming out. So maybe a double up into Gardevoir. Sludge Bomb. Nice. Yeah, that's exactly why I Calm Minded. Okay, I'm at +2 now. I don't think I really want to gamble Calm Minding again, so I think I'll just Moonblast and Hyper Voice this turn. Yeah. Sludge Bomb and Amoonguss is becoming super common. Back during VGC, you know, all the years Amoonguss was out, there's always Giga Drain, Rage Powder, Protect, and Spore. But now you opt a lot of times to run Sludge Bomb just because of the prevalence of fairies all around. So +2 Moonblast against an offensive Cresselia. Can that knock it out? It does. Nice. So getting rid of Cresselia is actually really nice because now my Landorus doesn't have to worry about Ice Beam pressure from it. And one of the things about Cresselia is you can always just click the Ice Beam button and it does chip damage, but if the Landorus comes in, then you just get a knockout or almost knock it out, which is always really scary. So Kangaskhan's coming back out, and my opponent's last Pokemon is actually Heatran, so I'm really happy to see that because the Landorus in the back right now is just in a very good position. So, because I know Kangaskhan is out right now, and I know my opponent's Z-moved, I got two questions. Like, now, do I want to just switch out Gardevoir, or do I want to sack it? I want to just knock out Kangaskhan. If I knock out Kangaskhan, I just win the game. We didn't see Fake Out, so it could have Protect. I don't think a Return or a Double Edge should knock out Feeny. I'm not sure I need to switch in for Intimidate right now. So I might actually just Moonblast and Psychic. Basically, what I want to do is I don't want to switch in Landorus. I want to get a free switch in into it. So Kangaskhan actually Double Edges, which is fine by me. Oh, that actually knocks me out outright. I thought that would proc my Berry the first time. That's still fine. Yeah. Because now I just Psychic. And then Landorus should just be able to Earthquake to win the game now. Yeah. Unless my opponent, like, double crits me. Single target Heat Wave, I actually don't think that actually, I was gonna say, oh, it actually does knock me out, yeah. I wasn't too sure about that. So, Double Edge, that was the first question, I thought if it's Return / Facade or Return Facade or Frustration, then I think Feeny definitely survives there, like the first hit procs my berry. I was thinking even with Double Edge I should survive, but unfortunately that was not the case. Kind of underestimating King's power in general. But I think I'm just going to Earthquake here, and I'm just going to Protect. Reason why it's important to Protect here is because I am choice banning Landorus, so I want to at least, like, give me some other... I mean, I guess at this point it comes down to Landorus just closing up the game with Earthquake anyway. Kang basically, I think, needs to double crit, double edge to win this one. Because Landorus should be faster than Heatran. I'm banded, so I just click Earthquake. Yeah, I think this covers everything. I'm faster anyway, so it's kind of anticlimactic. So I get my revenge on Chalk. It's Sugar Berry, Heatran, but I think Band might still just knock it out outright. Even if not, you're not going to win an endgame Heatran against Landorus. Yeah, gets a clean double knockout. Perfect. So that's why conserving Landorus was important. Ultimately, this game was won off my opponent bringing in a Amoonguss and Cresselia, and me being able to capitalize off that with Tapu Fini and the Cresselia. So I feel like bringing a Amoonguss against, you know, an opposing Tapu Fini is always just not exactly like the best, just because you're not able to really spore, and then you become kind of dead weight. So the Fini was able to capitalize there perfectly by Calm Minding. My opponent didn't even end up bringing Landorus, so no Landorus and Rock Slides to go with today. So kind of get vindicated for yes matchup. But yeah, it's gonna be it for this episode. I think this is gonna be my last episode with this team, so it was a really fun time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching it. If you are interested in trying it out yourself, check out the description below, and check out the creator of the team on Twitter at RazorVGC. All that good stuff is in the description below, and thank you guys for watching this one. It's been a blast learning with this team. My rating isn't super high, but I'm learning a lot, and that's what's I think most important, and looking to really carry that knowledge forward. So thank you guys for watching. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time. Alright, peace.